Hello everybody, this is Ramon. Welcome to another one of my benchmarking videos. In this video I'm going to benchmark project cards on a single GTX 1070 paired with an old Core i7-860. As always, this video is recorded on an external recorder at 60 frames per second, so what you will see in this video will be pure performance. This is especially important in CPU limited games like the one I'm going to benchmark. Core i7-860 is working at 4 GHz for this benchmarking video. There it is. The system has 12 GB of memory, and the graphics card is a single GTX 1070 made by KFA2. It is the EX model, running on the latest firmware, and it is also overclocked in order to reach 2 GHz of boost clock. Now for this benchmark I'm going to use fraps to gather frame rate data. We will see the basic result in this file and some analysis at the end of the video. Let's see how it will perform. Again, this is a quite CPU limited game, very difficult for the CPU, and it will be an interesting comparison with my Core i5-2500. Let's go to the options first. First of all, okay, the post-processing filters and everything in visual effects is enabled and blah blah blah. For the performance I'm using 1080p resolution as always. Everything is maxed out except from the anti-aliasing, which for this video I'm only going to use the sub-pixel morphological anti-aliasing. If you max out this setting, you can easily get half of the frame rate, and I want to avoid that because this video is a CPU test mainly. Everything else is at ultra, maxed out, etc. So let's go to my benchmarking location, which is the usual Azure Coast stage 1 with 31 components, and I'm using the same card in all my benchmarks, so I can have as much as possible similar run. Start the benchmark just yet. I'm going to let the opponents the distance, as you can see the GPU usage is extremely low right from the start. Okay, enough. benchmark. Very what? Look at these guys, they piled up anyway. The run was extremely CPU limited, as we just witnessed. 66 frames per second. Very difficult run for the Core i7-860. I believe this one must be the most CPU limited run I have done on this system. Now where am I? I believe this is the start of the run. Yes, the GPU. No. Yes, no, what? Anyway, we can see that the GPU usage throughout the run was far from being maxed out. The GTX 1070 was operating at half its power. Thankfully, the frame rate was at 60 frames per second or above, so still the game is quite playable. We have one of these one of these CPU limits that the frame rate still is manageable and the game is playable. The CPU usage activity is medium on the logical cores, very low on the hyper-threaded ones. The overall CPU usage, as you can see, is below 50%. Actually, it is even below 40%. So this game engine cannot really take advantage of the hyper-threaded logical cores, and we are left with whatever the physical cores can do. And even so, I believe they could do better, but it is what it is. CPU temps are fine. GPU temps also fine. With such little load, it was to be expected. 5.3 gigabytes of system RAM used. 2 GHz for the core clock throughout the run, no problems here. 1.9 gigabytes of video RAM usage. And let's move to the analysis. I will do a comparison with my Core i5-2500K RAM. Ultra. It is something like Ultra. You know what, guys, because I'm going to open the relevant files and I will be right back. Okay, I have loaded all my relevant files. The run that I just did at 66 frames per second, and my older run on the 2500K at 92 frames per second. We have a significant performance difference in this run. I believe this is the highest performance delta I have seen between the two systems. The i5 is 40% faster on this game. Let me change the coloring a bit so they can be more distinguishable. Analysis first for the 860. Frame times are not too bad and the variability is decent. We do have a few stutters of a few milliseconds. Nothing too serious, only half a millisecond is the per frame stuttering, but we do have 2.2 milliseconds of variability. These values were a lot lower on the 2500. Time spent beyond 16.7 milliseconds are at 22%. Not the best performance, but still quite good for playability. The histogram of the frame times shows indeed that we have a lot of the frame times below 16 milliseconds, but we do have some with shorter bars, of course, so in higher frame times thresholds. Not too bad, but it is not stellar either. You can have the exact same gaming experience with a lower video card. So these are the frame times charts. The runs are similar. The H60 one got a little longer, but still it is very clear that throughout the run the frame times have a significant difference between the two systems. The 1070 with the 2500K is a lot faster. The same goes for the frame rate graph. The 2500K is a lot faster throughout the run, significantly faster. We can see that we have performance around the 70s, and the i5 is around 100. This one was also CPU limited, so imagine that with a better CPU these graphs would be even better. Let's see minimax and average. The differences are highlighted very nicely in these graphs as well. The minimums are lower, the average is lower, the maximums are lower, and overall lower performance. Variability is higher on the H60, that is quite interesting, and the stuttering is also higher. Okay, it may be half a millisecond, but it's still 5 times more than 0.1 milliseconds of the i7. Actually, the i7 did have a very good performance. This game does not seem to be capable of taking advantage of hyper-threading and logical cores. The 99th percentile is at 21 milliseconds, 21.5 milliseconds for the H60, 14.8 for the 2500K, and we can see that we have at least 4 milliseconds difference, 3 or 4 milliseconds throughout the run for all frame times. Quite significant difference. This graph does not work, it is broken. And lastly, the comparable frame rates, less than 60 frames per second for the H60, a lot higher than 60 frames per second for the i7, a completely different gaming experience, although the H60 did what it could. In any case, I hope you find this video interesting, my friends. I certainly did. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on my next performance video.